Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is Tropical Update number 8 on the year. We are watching several areas for development. First, we are watching the remnants of Claudette up there making its way towards Nova Scotia. Currently, a trough of low pressure. No development is expected with that. In the Caribbean Sea, we're looking at a potential storm making its way, probably a depression, maybe something more, but 8 days out from now, still not expected to be much, if anything. So we are watching near Nicaragua and Honduras right now as it stands. The National Hurricane Center is only watching one area for development right now, 30% chance within the next 5 days near the Windward Islands. It will not last long. If it does develop, will be weak. If it does develop, in my opinion, it will not develop. And so we aren't going to spend much time on that. But the big story is in about 3 or 4 days, we're going to see a tropical wave make its way off of the coast of Africa. One of the strongest ones we've seen all year so far. And it's going to be in about 3 or 4 days. So later this week into this weekend, it's going to make its way off the coast and then traverse the Atlantic. By the time we get to next Tuesday, it's going to be in about the middle of the Atlantic. So we'll see how that exactly shakes out. But it's definitely something we're going to want to keep an eye on, as we know those tropical waves are the ones that end up bringing weather to the Caribbean, Gulf, and elsewhere. Anyways, guys, stay tuned for updates on all the systems. We're going to move back in time because I didn't have updates this past week as I was on a service trip. So here's our previous tropical update from June 8th. We are mentioning 2 areas for potential development, one in the Caribbean and Gulf area and one off the east coast of the United States. That storm off the east coast of the United States became Tropical Storm Bill. As I said, I mentioned it on the 8th of June. The National Hurricane Center didn't mention it until 5 days later, and it formed the day after the Hurricane Center mentioned it for the first time. So not great from the Hurricane Center. But again, as you can see, even on here on the 8th, it's a very scatterbrained forecast here. It ended up dissipating out 2 days later. Winds of 60 miles an hour, the strongest storm of the year so far. That area that we were watching down in the southern Gulf of Mexico, as we can see on this screen cap here, the model that I used, the same one that I used at the time. The Hurricane Center mentioned 3 days after we did here. The National Hurricane Center in that previous update was talking about an area in the Caribbean Sea where it says about 1005 right there is where they were talking about, in addition to an area south of the Gulf of Mexico in the Pacific. Then finally the area in the southern Gulf of Mexico. So again, they mentioned that 3 days after we did here, it became potential tropical cyclone 3 on the 17th in the center of the Gulf. It made its way north towards Louisiana, was named as it made landfall in Louisiana. And thankfully, we did have those potential tropical cyclone advisories initiated 2 days earlier. So tropical storm warnings were already in effect when Claudette became named, before it made its way through the United States, began to weaken over Mississippi and Alabama, back down into a depression before re-strengthening over Georgia, North Carolina, and that area into a tropical storm once again, making its way off the North Carolina-Virginia border on the coast there, and finally dissipating out as it left the coast on the 22nd, peaking with winds of 45 miles per hour. Anyways, guys, like I said, stay tuned for information on these developing systems as hurricane season begins to make its way into starting itself. So again, we already have 3 storms down. The prediction is 18 to 19 on the year, which could make us run out of names yet again. That's all for now. Chris Dixon, InfoWeather, Catholic Media.